Hey, my audio sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah, that's because I'm in the editing booth right now, and turns out my computer likes to immediately, without asking me, put on like audio filters or some crap whenever I plug in my mic. So, my mic just sounds bad, and it's gonna sound bad for this one and probably another one, but just be aware I will fix it. Hopefully it doesn't take away from the video. Alright, back to it. First of all, ignore all this back here. I know it's a mess. I will address that at a later time. Right now, got some serious business to attend to. So recently, at least recent as of making this video, there's been a nationwide known trial in Texas. It is in Texas, but it became like national news over a stabbing and the killing of a teenager. So last year, I believe it was, at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, I believe it was Frisco, teenager Austin Metcalf was stabbed and killed by another teenager by the name of Carmelo Anthony. No, it is not the Hall of Fame NBA player, rather some kid. Was a kid at least. And he's like a teenage, he's like an adult now. But time he was like 17. Anyways, kid was arrested. He was on house arrest for a while. Posted bond or posted bail, in which he got that, and then it was originally a lot more. Ended up being, but for some reason it was reduced, which caused a big stir. And so he was bailed out, but he was under house arrest because there was still a trial. People thought that like him getting bailed out of jail meant that he was innocent and it was it. That was the end of it. Rather, no, it was not that. It was just getting him out of jail, put him on like house arrest. So he was still like he still had a trial because obviously it's not like, oh, this guy got killed. That's it. All right, whatever. You posted bail. No, there was still a trial to be had. That, of course, happened recently. This was a big deal, especially in the state of Texas. Well, it's a big deal for people in Texas like myself. This is as far as our home and something like that's happening. It's tragic, and I mean, really anywhere you want the law to work, you want the justice system to do its job, and seemingly it did. Because after a week long trial, maybe it was less than a week. I don't know. Carmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison, first degree murder charge, 35 years with the possibility of parole at 17 years. That's kind of, even that's controversial because some people are saying it's not long enough, some people are saying it's too long, some people want the death penalty. But regardless of that, he was sentenced, he was found guilty of first degree murder. And that's not even the crazy part of this. The crazy part is the misinformation and lies that have come out from the very beginning of this trial. Even from the very beginning of the altercation, before there was even a trial, from the arrest to the news breaking, it's just been story after rumor after rumor. It's just a whole lot of he said, she said, but facts are facts. So let's get into all that. So basically, the biggest part of the misinformation that has been presented is the fact that this Carmelo Anthony kid claimed self-defense, and people took that and ran with it. Self-defense. He killed the kid in his self-defense, but it's not. I think that's an objective fact, Well, let's go back. Let's go back to what actually happened. So there's a track meet, and of course, if you know track meets, schools in the area, maybe it's the district track meet. They all come together, they run, they do track and field usually, because at least when I did track in school, it was track and field. So you had like track meets, you had like discus, you had shot put, that sort of stuff. Yeah, and at this time it was sort of a rainy day, and people had tents. Granted, this is just my experience, but I came from a very small town, a different area. We didn't really have tents, so I wasn't aware of this, that this was a thing, that schools had tents that they went to. I never did. Granted, we had our own little areas. Right, when I was in track, we were in the bleachers. We had our own little areas that we sat in, where like the managers of the track team was always there, and we all just sat together, and it's a whole thing. But anyways, this Carmelo Anthony kid, he sat in the wrong tent. He sat in the tent of Austin Metcalf's school, and he wasn't supposed to. Supposedly, allegedly, I should say, by legal terms, allegedly, he was told. Well, allegedly, he was not supposed to be there. So Austin went and confronted him with his brother Hunter, I believe his name is, and they were like you can't sit here, you got to go. This isn't really your area. And Carmelo told him, he said, look, I'm not moving. And it was a whole back and forth thing. Apparently things got physical at some point. Carmelo told him, he said, touch me, see what happens. and he stabbed him in the chest, actually, pierced his heart. He died, blood in his brother's arms. Not to get graphic, but very, very tragic situation. He did it. He fled the scene. Took him to custody. Admitted to doing it. Said that he told him he was gonna, do it, and that's kind of where that ended. Now, where the misinformation comes in is from the very beginning. Again, from the very beginning of this, there were rumors that Austin Metcalf was a bully. That was not even like, no one has said that. I think there was like a singular rumor and people took it and ran with it. There is no evidence to suggest that is the case. It is all alleged. There is no evidence to suggest that he was even a bully. In fact, they didn't even know each other. There are rumors that like, oh, he'd been bullying over so long and he was just fed up with it. They didn't know each other. That's just fact of the matter. They didn't know each other. And again, there's nothing, literally zero evidence to suggest any sort of bullying ever took place. Zero evidence suggests that Austin was even a bully. So that's rumor. Another rumor is that Carmelo was actually suspended for having a knife at school, for getting into fights. I've been researching this stuff, and I will continue to research this after the fact, after I record this, but I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that he was in fact suspended. If he was in fact suspended from school, he should not have even been there. He should not have been at the track meet with like amongst the athletes that were competing in the track meets. But again, that's just another rumor. There were rumors. There were claims that Carmelo was jumped. This group of 4 guys went up to Carmelo and just started beating him up. That was a lie. It was 2 guys. It was Austin and his brother, who went up to him, simply told him to leave, and he stabbed him. He stabbed Austin. There was no evidence to suggest. I mean, even witnesses. We're talking witnesses here. They even said it was just the 2 guys. Kid was never even jumped or anything. But look, we're getting away from those rumors. I'm sure there's plenty more that were out there that I can't remember. They get wild. The fact of the matter is, whether he was pushed, whether he was shoved, whether he was even punched, does not justify stabbing. You want to claim self-defense, claim it. Doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean you're justified in it. It's a simple fact of when it comes to self-defense, you cannot use a greater force as self-defense. If that makes sense. Like, it has to be of equal force. So if you get punched, you can punch back and that's self-defense. If you get pushed, you can push back and that's self-defense. Like, you cannot get pushed, stab someone or shoot someone or harm anyone in any sort of life-threatening way and claim self-defense. That's just not how that works. And like, I'm trying to speak objectively here because I'm going based off of the actual case, not, well, this guy said this thing and this one guy said another thing and we're going to trust them. No, I'm speaking strictly what was said in court, what was said by witnesses, by the evidence that was given in court. That is, people have reported on, so we know that much. But the evidence that was brought upon by prosecution and even the defense, because that's the interesting thing. The defense was pretty bad. Defense did him 0 favors. I don't know where they got. I've heard several different things. I've heard that they use like public defense or whatever. Is that what it's called? Public defense? I don't know. It's one of those lawyers that right. You can't afford a lawyer, this will they give you. I don't know that for sure, so I don't know. Basically, yeah, you can't just stab someone if they push you and they claim self-defense. That's not how that works. First of all, you can't even have a knife or anything of the sort at school. You can't. That's like, and this is another thing people were talking about. Like, well, the knife wasn't illegal to own. That wasn't even the question. It wasn't in question whether the knife was legal to own or not. The question is whether or not you should have it on school grounds. The answer is no. It is strictly prohibited to have any sort of knives or any sort of weapons on school grounds. Strictly prohibited. The knife may be legal to own in general, but you can't just bring it to school. Especially can't stab someone with it. Which brings me to more misinformation. There were claims that he was not stabbed with a knife, rather with a, quote, cleat sharpener. Now, you may be wondering, cleat sharpener? Now, what is that? Is that possible to kill someone with? I will answer that for you. The answer is no, it is not possible to stab someone with a cleat sharpener because cleat sharpeners do not exist. Cleat sharpeners are not a thing, and especially with like track shoes. Track shoes aren't even really cleats. They have spikes. Cleats and spikes are different. The only tool that they have for like tracks like spikes are the remover things. It's like a little T-shaped thing like that takes the spikes off your shoes. And you can't stab someone with that. In fact, they actually showed the knife. They actually had the knife that he stabbed him with, and it was like a $13 knife from like Walmart or something. But they showed it as a knife, and again, people heard like cleat sharpener and ran with it simply because It's confirmation bias, basically. That's really all this whole case comes down to, is confirmation bias. If you pick a side in this, if you believe someone, then you believe everything that confirms your bias. If you think this kid is innocent, every rumor you're going to hear, you're going to take it and run with it because it confirms your bias. If you think the kid is guilty, you're going to hear and take every word about him as gospel because you believe he's guilty and you want to confirm your bias. So yeah, police sharpeners aren't real. First and foremost, not a thing. He killed him with a knife. Okay, they showed the knife, and that's a weapon that was used. And people were like, well, knives can be used as, or people said like multi-tools as well. Multi-tools can be weapons. That's another thing. People are like, well, this is a tool. This is not a weapon. At what point does a tool become a weapon? When you stab someone with it. That's the thing. Anything can be a weapon. My phone is a weapon. If I can somehow stab someone with it, it can be a weapon. This tape measure thing here. I don't know what I know they're like a tape measure. That can be a weapon. If I choke someone out with it, it becomes a weapon. And especially knives. If you stab someone and you kill them with a knife, that knife becomes a weapon. Same with any multi-tool thing, because a multi-tool is just that. It's a tool. It can have a screwdriver on it. It can have a corkscrew. If you stab anyone with those, guess what? It's a weapon. But it was actually not a multi-tool. It was actually a pocket knife. Another rumor was that because once this whole thing happened, right, where Carmelo was arrested and stuff and brought to jail or in holding or whatever it was, people started to GoFundMe for him, like for defense or some crap, raised a bunch of money, and people said that they spent all the money on cars and houses. I can't prove that. I think that still more resides in rumors, just because I haven't found any viable evidence of that. But assuming they did get the funds, because I heard they did not even get the funds, and you have a public defender, doesn't help doesn't help the claims. But anyway, we're getting back to the trial. Back to the trial. We'll get more into misinformation later. Back to the trial. The trial happened a year later, and they had the jury pool. The jury pool had about 600 people. Interviewed all of them. Had made their picks, and they picked their jury. And when it came down to was they had their jury picked. More misinformation. People claimed it was an all-white jury. It was not. It was, there was a mix. There was mostly white people, but it was a mix of white people. There were some Hispanic people in there, an Asian woman, and a Middle Eastern woman, I believe. People were like, well, they're jury of your peers. It's supposed to be, there's no black jurors, because that's not necessarily what peers means. It's a jury of your peers, not a jury of your friends. Supposedly, allegedly, when they interviewed the jurors, some of the black jurors that they had initially picked would said like, oh, I couldn't send a young man to jail. He looks innocent. Oh, he's just a kid. He's made a mistake. One even saying, I don't know if I feel right putting a brother in jail. So no, that's why that they were not picked. That's why that they were not chosen to be part of the jury, because that's bias. So anyways, the trial commences. The defense does its thing, prosecution does its thing, and it went well for the prosecution. Defense did not. Prosecution showed evidence. They showed security footage of the incident, which apparently was not super clear. Supposedly they saw enough. They brought in witnesses, various testimonies, and it was not looking good for Carmelo. Defense did their thing. They made their arguments. They made their claims. They also had witnesses, which again did not go well. They ended up testifying against Carmelo, and this isn't even like, oh, it's just a bunch of white kids trying to put away a black kid. No, because a good number of witnesses were black. Many of them were people who knew Carmelo personally, friends even, and they came out and said that he was the aggressor. Students who were under the tent during the stabbing testified on June 5th. The student witness stated that people, including Metcalf, had confronted Anthony and asked him to leave the tent, to which Anthony allegedly said, touch me and find out, and kept his hands in his backpack, warning that he had something. Witnesses estimated Anthony was asked to leave as many as 15 times. The witness said that they did not try to gang up on Anthony, and that the exchange lasted about 2 minutes. Multiple students labeled Anthony as the aggressor, and he had entered the tent to escape the rain. The defense called Anthony's coach, who testified that it was not unusual for athletes from different schools to share tents. First School Memorial student gave a different account of the confrontation, saying Metcalf grabbed Anthony before the stabbing. However, under cross-examination, he stated Anthony had provoked him. A police officer testified that carrying a 5-inch knife is not unlawful in Texas, even though it is against school policy. So based on the evidence, they said that, the Morales coach said it wasn't unusual for that to even happen, but supposedly allegedly, Metcalf's coach had put him in charge of the tent, saying, just don't let anyone who's not a student go under there. So that's really what that all was. But they're saying, whether or not he grabbed him or he pushed him or not, Carmelo provoked him. Carmelo was the aggressor, and he was found guilty of first-degree murder. Thing is, none of this really, what happened up to that point doesn't really matter, truthfully, right? Whether it was a push, whether it was just words, whether he truly grabbed him, none of it matters because deadly force was used. There was no self-defense. Objectively speaking, there was no self-defense because whether or not someone pushes you or just touches you or grabs you, or just tells you to leave, you cannot stab someone, killing them, after you were not physically harmed in any way and claim self-defense. Witnesses have even come out and said that Austin Metcalf had straight up told him, he said, I'm not going to fight you in a track meet. That's what they said. That witnesses said that Austin said that he wasn't going to fight him, and Carmelo said, touch me and find out what happens. Which also goes against another claim that Carmelo Anthony was just a scared kid. He feared for his life. He was scared. He feared for his life. Yeah, you know what people who fear for their lives don't say? Touch me and find out. You know what bullies don't say? I'm not going to fight you. Touch me and find out is a challenge. It is a threat. Touch me and find out is, I'm not scared of you. Come at me. Basically what that is. Try me. And threats don't usually say, I'm not going to fight you here. So, people decided to make it a race thing. That's always a fun part. Whitey was bullying the black kid, and so it became a race issue because of that. People saying that he called him racial slurs, that Austin called Carmelo racial slurs, which witnesses said that did not happen. Just more and more misinformation. Like even Austin's father, who has been somehow has just been like the coolest person through all this, has given this family, the Anthony family, so much grace. Has come out and said, look, it's not a race issue. There were people on both sides, extremists, who were like, black people, white people, we hate everybody. Even like people who were like white, white activists or whatever, who were like, trying to talk to Austin's dad. Was like, look, you gotta stand up for the white people. And he's like, dude, it's not a race issue, relax. Austin's father has tried to pray with, he forgave, tried to pray with the family, tried to be at a press conference and with them, and all they've done is treat him like trash. He has shown them nothing but grace, and they've treated him so poorly. And I mean, even after the court case, like the Metcalf family was just hurled with insults and hate and death threats and stuff. So he and his family have been met with nothing but just the worst. And after everything went down, after the verdict, he got on social media and crashed out. A valid crash out, I would say. Things were said that, controversial, but in the end, he has said that he forgave Carmelo for the murder, saying that he did not want to carry the hate and anger, and that he was not a racist, as some had claimed him to be, for whatever reason. He said, I could care less about the color of your skin. We all bleed the same color. Again, people were making this a race issue when it wasn't. People were saying that, you put away a black kid because he's black. This is simply not the case. People comparing it to other cases that are very much not the same thing. So the Carmelo Anthony party, whatever team that is, they filed for an appeal. These people can't read, so they're like, they filed for the appeal, and they're like, they got the appeal. Like, no, they filed for it. It was just confirmed they filed for the appeal because I think it's an unfair trial. I think the appeal's going to get denied, if anything, but we'll see how that goes. But yes, so I feel like I've rushed through this thing, but there's just a lot of information out there, a lot of things that I wanted to clear up, and my mind's all over the place on this one, just because there's just a lot that there's been more on social media, in the realm of social media, in the internet. There has been more misinformation, more rumor than there has been objective facts. There's been more he said, she said than here's the fact of the matter. And so people have just taken things and ran with it because of confirmation bias. You just gotta clear things up and just like, look, this is simply not the case. So objectively, right, from witness accounts, from video evidence, from the courtroom itself, Austin and his brother confronted Anthony. They told him 15 times to leave because he wasn't supposed to be there. Carmelo was pushed. Not hard or anything, just pushed. Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin with a knife that he wasn't supposed to have on campus. He claimed self-defense, which he can't because it was not self-defense. He was the aggressor. Austin was not. And those are the facts. That's where it's at. It's not a race issue. People have made it a race issue, but it's not that. Let me know your thoughts below. Curious on what other people's thoughts are on this. But that's where I'll leave it.